Hello everybody, I'm Eddie Vegas, your host, and welcome to this first tutorial for Full House Poker. This first tutorial is going to be called Hand Strength plus Position equals Good Pre-Flop Decisions. Now first of all, you're going to notice what better way to hold your attention while I talk at you than to show you the hottest women in poker. So enjoy the show while I speak. The reason why I call this first tutorial Hand Strength plus Position equals Good Pre-Flop Decisions is because most of the beginning players that I see on Full House Poker, and quite a few players just in general in Full House Poker, are committing the two basic beginner mistakes. They play too many hands and they go too far with those hands. So the first thing we're going to fix is the first problem, playing too many hands. And so I'm going to show you exactly how to judge whether you have a hand worth coming in the first place. Okay, let's get started. When trying to judge whether you should play your hand in the first place, you're going to take three factors into account. The first factor is high card strength. Now, what do I mean by high card strength? I mean simply that you have big cards in your hand. Now notice when I say big cards, that's plural, and that means that you need two big cards to consider that you have high card strength. Hands like Ace 3 offsuit and King 9 offsuit do not have that much high card strength because you don't have two big cards. You're going to really want to be thinking that you have two big cards in your hand to really judge that you have high card strength. And you'll notice after high card strength I put 60% because this is going to be 60% of your decision. By far the biggest factor in trying to decide whether you're going to play your hand or not is your high card strength. Many beginning players are going to be thinking too much about the following two factors that I'm going to be showing you in just a second. And this is going to be a mistake. So I want to get this in your head that by far the biggest factor in trying to decide whether you're going to play your hand is your high card strength. Okay. What other factors are involved in judging whether your hand is good enough to play or not? The next factor is suitedness. And what do I mean by suitedness? I mean simply that you have two cards of the same suit. Two cards of the same suit can make flushes, and flushes are an extremely strong hand which is going to win you a lot of money in certain cases. However, you'll notice that I put 20% next to suitedness because by itself suitedness is not that important in terms of deciding whether to play your hand or not. You're also going to need high card strength along with your suited cards. Hands like 9-3 suited and 7-2 suited, yes, they're suited, but they have no high card strength. And so they're not really worth that much in terms of trying to decide whether to play your hand. Okay, and the final factor in trying to decide whether you're going to play your hand or not is connectedness. And what do I mean by connectedness? I mean simply that you have two cards next to each other, such as 7-8 or Jack-10. Cards that are next to each other can often make straights, and straights as well is a very strong hand and is going to win you a lot of money, but once again without high card strength. I've only put 20% next to connectedness, and so really in the end cards that are connected don't really have a lot of value in terms of playing your hand in the first place. And when you mix suitedness and connectedness, you have what they call suited connectors. Suited connectors are two cards right next to each other that are of the same suit. Notice, however, that if you add 20% and 20% for connectedness and suitedness, you're still only getting 40%. So, small suited connectors like 3-4 suited and 5-6 suited don't have high card strength, and thus they are danger hands to play despite you have suited connectors. You're going to want to be very, very, very careful when playing suited connectors of this type, and I actually, quite honestly, I suggest that you go ahead and fold these hands in a great majority of situations. Okay, you may be saying, Eddie, what about pocket pairs? For example, if I have pocket fives don't have any high card strength. They're not suited and they're not connected, but hey, I've got a pair in my hand. That's probably a pretty good hand, right? Well, yes and no. It depends what pair you have. Pocket pairs fall into 3 different categories as well, and I'm going to talk about each category of pocket pairs. The first category is your big pocket pairs, aces, kings, and queens. Aces, kings, and queens do not, actually they are an exception to the rules that I'm laying out right now about high card strength, suitedness, and connectedness. Yes, they have high card strength, but at the same time they're not suited, not connected, but at the same time they don't apply to the rules that I'm laying out right here. They're an exception to the rule. So you can go ahead with your big pocket pairs to raise and even re-raise your big pocket pairs without worrying about it. We move on to the middle pocket pairs. Middle pocket pairs are jacks, 10s, 9s, and maybe 8s. These hands have a lot of strength as well, despite the fact they don't have high card strength, suitedness, or connectedness. However, the danger in playing middle pocket pairs is that you tend, or rather beginning players tend to get married to their middle pocket pairs. They get pocket 10s, and they raise with them, and maybe get a couple callers, and the flop comes ace, queen, 7, and they don't look at the board, and they say, well, I have pocket 10s, I have a really great hand, and they continue to call, or they continue to raise, and they go broke. So what you're going to want to do with your middle pocket pairs is you're going to want to not be afraid to get rid of them. You can't get married to your middle pocket pairs, and if you should happen to run into some resistance, you shouldn't be afraid to fold those hands if you run into resistance. We move on to the third category of pocket pairs, which are the small pocket pairs, the 7s, 6s, 5s, 4s, 3s, and 2s. These hands you're going to want to play with the principle of what they call set mining. Now, set mining means simply that you're going to want to, yes, raise with those hands, but you're going to make a small raise, and you're going to try to get in and see a flop cheaply with these small pocket pairs. Once the flop hits, 2 possibilities. 1, you hit your card. For example, you've got pocket 5s and a 5 hits the flop. Great. You have a set. You're probably going to make a lot of money because nobody's going to figure it out that you have a set. Your hand is well disguised, and you're probably going to make a ton of money with this hand. Great for you. Possibility number 2, you don't hit your hand. At that point there, it's really simple, and don't be afraid to do this, to fold these hands once you run into resistance. And you're going to want to play these hands very, very cautiously. If you don't hit your hand, don't be afraid to fold these hands if you don't hit your flop. Okay, that pretty much covers my speech on high card strength and suitedness and connectedness in trying to decide whether you play your hand or not. Once again, the biggest decision you're going to be making is, do I play the hand or not? And I hope that this tutorial has helped you. The next video I'm going to be making is going to cover position, and position is an incredibly important factor in trying to decide whether you play your hand, and this is a factor that a great number of players on Full House Poker do not have the slightest idea how to play position, so we're going to fix that in the next tutorial. So, thanks for watching, thanks for listening, don't forget to subscribe, and we'll be right back with the next tutorial covering position. Bye-bye.